As they say, two things can be true at the same time, and in the spirit of that saying, I'd like to say ESO is one of the best and most boring MMOs of our time. Like many players, I've all around stopped playing ESO and unsubscribed from my ESO Plus just to find myself reinstating my monthly payment and respecking my characters weeks to months later just to repeat the cycle. I mean, even as I was creating this video, I was deciding, do I want to continue even covering this game? Because personally, I love and hate the game for the exact same single reason. And that's that at times it's just too easy even as a casual. I specify that because in ESO's pursuit of becoming a new user-friendly game, they've severely diminished their player retention. I know many people are going to say things like, oh, you haven't even made it to true veteran endgame content. But that is the issue itself. ESO has both PvE and PvP elements to it, but my main focus is PvE, specifically pertaining to questing. Now, I know the second M in MMOs is multiplayer, but I just love the lore and adventure of the Elder Scrolls universe, and in that regard, I love ESO. However, the issue is if I have to put hours upon hours in to reach endgame to feel a challenge or let the fun begin, during that pursuit at some point the game becomes a chore and not an experience. It's almost as if the game works backwards, like where a game gets boring the further you get, but ESO gets boring and then more interesting. Except even the veteran players complain that endgame content is lackluster, which you always gotta develop your own opinion, but the best part of ESO seems to be levels 1 through 30, before you truly get used to your character and new skills. I mean, yeah, sure, there's gear and such that you unlock later to make you stronger, but the game feels about the same difficulty due to its scaling for entirely too long to even capture your attention to reach the end game challenge. So alas, the cycle becomes create a character, level up, explore skills, get bored, quit the game, return months later because the idea of exploring an entire land of Tamriel is just too good to ignore. And the initial part of the game is primarily fun to me because I've only been playing 2 years on and off, so there are classes and skill lines that I've never tried yet. I couldn't imagine being a lifer who's been playing long term and knows the ins and outs. Don't get me wrong, every game has its lifespan, but MMOs typically are meant to pass the test of time, offering updates that change or add content that makes it continuously stimulate your needs as a gamer. But you know how on launch people hated ESO because it wasn't Skyrim, then other people shouted, well, it's not supposed to be, it's an MMO. To me, it seems as if at this point, ESO even forgot that it was an MMO and not a one-time playthrough game. But even that isn't a good excuse because even without mods, Skyrim still has incredible replayability. It's like ESO is stuck in some purgatory of wanting to grow, but not too much, wanting new players, but not old ones, and old ones is anyone playing the game over a month. And for me personally, I mean, compared to the more cartoony, proportioned graphics of WoW, ESO looks amazing because for lack of a better term, it looks more realistic. Plus you engage in characters and lore you've heard of since Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, giving you the comfort of knowing the long-standing lore. But you get the refreshing take of a little bit of all of it at once. It's like playing a game and getting to explore the lore of small minor characters that you always wanted to be explained more, thus keeping you in the cycle of returning. Problem is, the experience itself, getting into the game, is just too easy and makes you feel like none of your build choices matter until endgame. But again, our attention spans never even make it that far. Nonetheless, 2024, I'll be playing ESO harder than ever because at this point, I'm just here for the lore and hoping I can meet some friends to specifically tackle the quests and lore with. Not worrying about meta builds or my ranking on a leaderboard, I just want to explore and play it like a storyline co-op game while making jokes and chatting in a huge world. Only problem there is, even the storylines can be more cohesive and relate to each other, and most of my friends that have played haven't touched it since release. Maybe I'll just give up. But maybe tomorrow, it'll be fun again.